We have 1 minute. 1 minute. All right, it is 6:30. We appear to have just barely a quorum, so let's go ahead and get started. If we could get call the meeting to order at 6:30 and get a roll call.
Hannah Friedman. Here. Vanish Theranot. Here. Wiggs.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Crane. Furtado. Greer. Lakshan.
I'm here. If I could get a motion to approve the agenda and addenda for tonight's meeting. Moved by Vanish Theranot, second by Wilson. We have the auditor here who would like to be added to the agenda. I'm going to suggest that we can add him under other business. I don't know if I need to make a motion to do that. I think I do need to make a motion to do that, wouldn't I? So is there a second to add the auditor? Okay, Wiggs will second that. All in favor of adding the auditor under other business? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we'll make that change. I already did that. I'm writing yes. And then a vote, all in favor of the agenda and addenda as presented? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from our March 4th meeting? I have Wiggs, second by Vanish Theranot. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Appears we have no members of the public here, but now would be the time for public input if we did. Seeing none, we'll move on to board communications. Do we have any communications from board members tonight? Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Chair Lakshan. This is Passover weekend. Begins Friday night, and happy Passover for those that celebrate Passover.
Thank you. Any other communications? Ellie?
I believe it actually begins Saturday, but I was gonna just put in a request that maybe this committee could have a tour of Bennett again.
I actually was planning to bring that up because the Bennett Dedication Committee is planning to have our May meeting at the space, so the folks who are on that committee can see it. Most of them have not been in the building yet. So Eric, if it's possible for us maybe to take another look at the Bennett building before the May meeting. Yep. Okay, we can set that up. Great, thank you. Any other communications? All right. Moving on to new business, we have an update on ITB 2022-009 Satellite Jail Consolidation Project.
Pretty simple update. Things moved along. We actually got through our final punch list submittal last Friday on the 4th. Things went well. It's just minor things. If you actually drive down the road, you can see a black mark on the side of the building. That's one of them. Actually, it might be addressed during one of these change orders, depending on how we vote. Other than that, things are right on schedule. I think they're still hoping for within the month that inmates can come back to the facility. So we're on track.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns? All right, that sounds good. I'm glad to hear that's moving along on schedule. Now we have discussion and approval of change orders. 69, 70, and 71, ITB 2022-009. I'm sorry, I said satellite last time. It's the Pope Jail Consolidation Project.
Sorry. A couple of these change orders, 69 in particular is actually one that's older. If you look through some of the material, it shows that some of the sign-offs, if it made it in, I think it kind of got jumbled around, happened roughly a year ago. It actually slipped through the cracks. We just want to address it. It was caught by our project manager. Part of that was just some slab work that needed additional pours due to how they had to pour it for controlled, for the required joints. That's one of them. In 70, 68 is actually a credit. I think I just threw that in there so you could see it. 70 is curb modification resurface of epoxy. That's for they identified this as a slip hazard whenever they were going through near the booking area for a shower. They constantly have issues with drainage, so they're actually hoping to re-epoxy everything, actually extend the curb out so it's actually safer for when they use it and for staff because the water kind of flows out underneath. It's pretty quick. They were already in there. They can resurface the walls too while they were at it, which wasn't part of the scope, so it actually encompasses quite a bit. And then 71 is the big one. This one, actually, we thought was going to come in significantly higher. I don't even want to tell you what the budget amount, so I was pretty happy with this. But part of this is findings from, I can't remember when the study was. It was 10 years ago, maybe. Whenever some of these precasts were starting to crack, they identified some of the foundation work that needed to be done. This was number 3 on that list. We've already addressed number two of the 3. It's just the final piece to make sure that we have a good foundation for the building.
All right, thank you. Any questions, concerns on the change orders? Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Chair. Just remind me, I'm looking on page 10 and page 11. On the markup 15%, what is that used for? The column that says markup 15%.
I did not catch that. That's strictly Stark Excavating came in, did the bid work. That's probably what their 15% markup is, no matter what they bid. They submitted it, and then they do actually an additional 5% just for running it through a change order. So that's Stark Excavating. That's who they chose to use. They submitted the bid, and then the change order process through the project manager. So I don't think we have control over that. I could go back and negotiate, but it's doubtful that we could. They might be lenient, but since we don't have a signed contract with them, I don't know if we'd be able to negotiate too much.
All right, thanks. So that's their standard markup rate typically, you think?
Yeah, I would say so. I would have guessed closer to the 10%, but
Yeah, 15 seems a little, okay.
Good to know. Yeah, I don't think in the time I've been in facilities, I've seen a lot of work with them. So the name is familiar but new to me. So I guess that's good to know. Any other questions, concerns? If we could take a motion to do all 3 of these change orders, 69, 70, and 71, approved together, unless there are any objections to that. Motion by Ellie, second by Mr. Wilson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next up, we have ITB Pope Jail roof replacement and bracket repair update.
this is more of a placeholder for future meetings. There's not much of an update outside of the fact that it did get submitted through Rifestick Reed for design. They did actually just come back with a minor update that they're progressing, so things are looking good. I think the only thing really to share is that we potentially may go out to bid later just because they're advising it. It'll still get through the process this year, though.
Any questions on the roof replacement and bracket repair? Sorry about that. No, we're good. All right. Got a lot of talking tonight, Eric. Let's see. Update on ITB 2023-005 County Plaza Elevator Renovation Project.
We finally got, as of 11:30 today, we do have an elevator turned over to us. It took a lot of begging, but they were good. Otis worked with us throughout the whole process. We were hopeful to have it actually turned over on Friday. Otis worked with us the last couple days when stocks came in to deliver furniture. So I do want to say thank you to them. But things are good. Elevators are progressing. They actually are hopeful for the next two to be turned over to us potentially in the next month, barring inspection in about 3 weeks' time. They keep stressing the end of April just because they want to give themselves plenty of time, but you talk to some of the workers, it could be significantly sooner, just depends on how quickly they can address everything.
So is that one elevator turned over to us now or two? That's just one.
Just one. Elevator 3 is turned over.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? Mr. Wilson?
Thank you. So, were the concerns with the fire protection taken care of? Can you remind us what that issue was?
So we installed sprinkler, smoke, and heat detectors in the shaft and mechanical space for the lift for the elevators on top of the roof. It's just standard coverage to cover everything within the building. But whenever we came to get inspected by the state fire marshal, they came in and said, due to it being a traction elevator instead of a hydraulic elevator, it's the type of elevator that we have installed. They wanted us to remove the sprinkler lines and the smoke. They were fine with the heat detectors, I believe. I got to double check myself, but I believe we left a heat detector in each shaft and the mechanical space for coverage. But otherwise, we had to remove it. It's something to do with they want to be able to, if there's a fire event, their staff can come in, use the elevator, because if the sprinkler lines pop, it's just frying everything, and then their staff have to climb the stack. So I think that's where the basis of it is just if there is a fire, it's not really for the public or staff. It's more so his staff could use it if they deemed it necessary.
Any other questions, comments on elevators? Thank you for the positive update. Next up, we have an update on ITB 2022-008 County Plaza renovation. Just the general update. I'm like, we just did the elevators. All right, general update. Here we go.
Like I said earlier, Stocks, who we purchased the furniture through, they brought everything in the last couple days. They were there today, setting up what we could. Things are progressing. Final signage is signed off on. We had some edits there. Honestly, IT, as long as we can get the permit tomorrow, they're going to move in this week as well. So we're on schedule to start moving staff over. We have a defined plan for when departments are moving, but obviously that could change as time goes on. But yeah, so far, knock on wood, nothing major came up.
That's wonderful. Any questions, Daniel? Oh, Mike.
This might be an oddball, but did you see if they are going to move any more servers into that room?
That's not an oddball one. I think everybody in my department's wondering the same thing. But I have not found out yet. I can ask MC just to make sure. I don't know if that's just oversized. I think we talked about that. But I do think it was still short cycling the last time we looked. So I'll have to ask MC.
Nothing else on there? Okay. And for those who came in, we did add, George will have a question about auditor's placement that we moved to other business to add him to the agenda. Next up, we have a discussion and approval of the ARPA funding memo, page 19 and 20 in the packet.
I think we discussed this previously. I think it'd just be beneficial for us to approve something official to send through the whole board. So more or less, we just put something together, looking for your approval to submit to the full board.
Ellie?
We discussed a finance agenda today that this should go to the full board, this coming full board meeting. Just wanted to share that.
So this would be not a consent agenda item. This would be
No.
held off and got it.
Yeah, and that it would be included in the ARPA section
Okay.
of the agenda. That's Jen. Jen will make sure that happens.
Stephanie, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a few things. So first, I think capital is spelled wrong. It's like with an O in that second paragraph. Am I wrong? Is that wrong?
You're probably right. I had a lot of typos on the last one too.
Okay, so it's just in the paragraph, I think it's spelled like Capitol building. But then the bigger question I have is, I had thought we had somewhat prioritized these to be jail, JDC, coroner. I don't see anything on here that indicates that, and my guess is when it gets to the full board, they're going to want to know that. So, I mean, I guess we could just verbally tell them, but maybe would it make more sense to rearrange? Do you know? Oh, and also the judges' design plans. We probably should put that first with like little stars and rainbows next to it. But then, and then I also thought we had pulled MetCAD off altogether, or is that back on for some reason?
Temporarily, that's on pause. I think there's internal discussion still ongoing.
Okay.
So that's part of it.
Okay, so I don't know if it matters or if we just want to like verbally carry that to the board, but I do think if like this is what's going to happen, they're going to be like, 2.5 million, this is a list for 6, what are you going to do? That's what they're going to ask. And I know we did spend a lot of time sort of prioritizing, but then also saying, Eric, you know, if for some reason something in our priority list cannot be done by 2026, obviously move down the list. But I don't see anything that indicates that. So I don't know what the best way to method to handle that is.
Chair Locke, you had something on that?
Really, I have an amplification. I agree with Stephanie that there was a priority to it. And I remember one of the reasons we prioritized the coroner was that office had received nothing really. And I know that she has multiple projects that she would like to use it on. I was in there and they've got carpet. It's gross. So among all the other things. So if we could prioritize, we know there's going to be that 30,000 for her. If we could make sure the board knows that we'd like to give that sooner than later and not wait to see if 30,000 shakes out, I would appreciate that.
Okay, Ellie?
I guess I don't have the notes from our last meeting where we did that because, I mean, this does show priority, but I don't think it matches what we did last time. So
Yeah,
if
and it does show like the grouping as well, because like we had talked about, you had said there would potentially be discounts for putting all JDC projects together, all jail projects together, so on. But yeah, I think the shifting, and I don't know if we should probably move to approve this and then amend it, or if we want to amend it and move forward to approve an amended list. Stephanie?
Well, we haven't first or seconded yet.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
So should we go ahead and do that?
Yes, and then I think amend it.
Okay. So are you moving to?
I will, yes.
Yes. Furtado moves to get this going and approved. Let's do a second by Wiggs. Now let's discuss amending. Jeff, yes. Oh, Stephanie, go ahead.
I have an amendment. If this is okay with you, Eric. I would like to amend and have number 6 become number 1. Have number 17 become number 2. Have 1 through 3 then become 3 through 4. And then have 9 through 11 become 5 through 6. And then everything else just cascade down by number. Does that make sense?
can you just repeat the second half?
Well, it would be 3 through 5. Okay, number 1 is courthouse design plans. 2 is coroner. 3 through 5 are the Pope Jail 1, 2, and 3. And then 6 through 8 are the 9, 10, and 11 current JDC.
Just a point of reference, just so it doesn't get lost. Item 2, that was what we just voted on for a change order. So keep that in mind. That's where that figure came from. Yeah.
Wow. And that was 45,000, you said?
But part of the reason for that was because they're not doing the entire building because of exterior work. We don't want to break up driveways and so on and so forth. So it worked out to our benefit. And then part of that too is you'll see on the agenda packet, the number 5 is to be voted on as well. It hinged on whether or not we were approved to use the ARPA funds.
So some of this currently is in process, yes. Stephanie, you had a follow-up there?
So since number 5 is already in process, should we then maybe make that,
Move that with courthouse 1 and 2,
yeah, why don't
Okay.
we do that? So that,
then bump coroner to 3, jail to 4 to 6, although one of those is already in process as well, and then JDC 7 to 9. And everything else can flow
Yeah.
from that list, if that,
I feel like that'll facilitate a more productive and shorter conversation when we get to the full board, I hope. And obviously, I know these numbers are going to change and that might be some things that we simply cannot get done in the time frame. And obviously, I trust you to prioritize, but I think it would help the board.
and a reminder again to folks on this committee that we are the advocates for getting this approved by the board and making sure they understand that the reason we are pushing for this facilities work is to ease the strain that may be coming in very near years on the general fund, but also because we know these projects can get done before the end of 2026 and meet the deadline. That's why they were selected, and because the savings is directly tied to the Pope Jail renovation, so this was already money that was allocated for construction. Any other questions?
I think you should say that verbatim.
Can we
hope
just
you
roll
remembered
tape
it.
from the facilities meeting? Okay, I'm happy to do that. So if, Beth?
Are we planning on building in any cushion for the fact that prices are probably going to go up precipitously in the next 3 months to a year?
That would be a long-term discussion because that kind of goes hand in hand with our capital. If we don't do inflationary increases, the money's just not going to go as far. But these numbers are fairly accurate as of today. So we have a year and a half, and hopefully things don't skyrocket. I don't want to jinx us, but I really hope they don't.
And the idea is that we just get as much done from this list that we can. If that ends up being less because of money not going quite as far as it has been, then so be it. We are just trying to get it all spent and not returned. Did somebody else say they had a question? I thought I heard, oh, Jeff?
Thank you, Chair. I remember the discussion about the 170 watt, 175 kW generator as far as lead time. And is this 200,000 purchase plus install? Is it all 9 yards, or what's your thoughts on this? And when is that generator actually needed?
That's one of them that they asked whether it was immediately necessary or if it's just age. That one item, it is more so just because of age. It's just on the list to get addressed. But the full number, that's for install and unit everything. That's the budgetary amount for the entire project is what we're calling it. So we hope to have it installed and everything, yes.
So how long does it take to get the generator here?
Potentially months, yeah.
A year, maybe?
Depends on the vendor. We could potentially, that could be justification to go to a new vendor, but it could. It's hard to speculate, honestly, for which item's going to be difficult.
One other comment. I think I'm missing a word here. On the header on page 20, Facilities Committee, initial scope of work and project details over 6 million in. What's the in the 10-year plan in,
Just appreciate everybody pointing out my typos. I believe that said included. I deleted, I actually modified. That's why this list is not rearranged. The only thing that I did is I omitted what we for sure removed from the previous agenda. And I knew the only changing was that we wanted to put the Elias as the last item for an absorbing of all costs if we had excess money. So that's the only reason why it moved down, but everything else stayed where it was. And I should reread this a third time before submitting it next time.
this one other thought. Just a thought. So approximately there's $2.5 million. Not going to be more probably. Do we want a line in here, like whatever adds up to $2.5 million, and there's just kind of a note that this is our plan, and if these items cost less than forecasted, then we'll just add the next item?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if we need to add that to, I guess you could add it to the memo, but also when we talk about it in the full board meeting, we can talk about, and actually, I'm not going to be at the full board meeting, so somebody else will have to give my speech. But we can talk about that as facilities people, that we have discussed these items. We know that not all of them will get done, but we feel this is the best way to go about spending the money and knocking some of these projects off the list. Stephanie?
Yeah, and I do want to point out the chances of us getting to that generator are pretty slim because that was like 12. And I also will not be at the full board meeting. I haven't told you this yet, but I will not be at the full board meeting. I have a schedule conflict. So
Ellie, we nominate you as tribute.
all of you,
Yes.
please carry the message. And I will amend my earlier amendment to get rid of the word in.
Thank you.
All right, so any other comments, questions on here? No, let's go ahead then. And we had a motion and a second. You accept the edits that will come to this, that we present an edited version at the full board as a friendly amendment
Yes,
there?
I
Okay.
do.
And then second, yes? Okay. So all in favor of presenting the memo to full board meeting this month? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And that will not be on the consent agenda. It will be at the full board.
Hey,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
I know I'm wordsmithing this. Facilities Committee, initial scope of work and project details totaling over 6 million. Because when you say over 6 million, I think each line item is over 6 million. So if you say totaling over 6 million, then you won't be questioned to death at the full board meeting. Are
I
we
think-
okay with that?
I mean, I think you could just omit that line and just have initial scope of work and project details. They
Perfect.
can see in the
There you
bottom,
go.
it's over
Just strike
6
the whole
million. We
thing
know
and
that
we're
we're not
okay?
going to,
I friendly amended that
yeah,
for sure.
okay. All right,
All
thank
right.
you all.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to what was number 5 on the initial list, the discussion and approval of the boiler feed system, which is your addenda on your desks here.
So the reason that this was separated from the agenda is because they're active bids and we didn't know if we were allowed to spend the funds, obviously. So since it was previously approved, if we can progress, we reached out for quotes. We've officially only received 2, a third with a no response. We've reached out multiple times to that vendor and they have initially, in the emails attached, responded and said there's a chance they don't bid, and then they've been unresponsive since. So we have 2 bids. The first one is actually the company that installed the boiler burners. They come in very high ranking with GHR engineering firm that helped us design for that project. I would suggest that we move forward with that bid, even though it is more. But the second bid is good. It's just we're more or less routing for the company.
Oh,
That bid
Daniel.
looks a lot more comprehensive than A&R's as well.
And they did a really good job on the boiler burner project. They've we've got an integration, which is a small cost that they're going to assist us with. So we've had good fortune with that company so far.
so can I get a motion to approve the boiler feed system? And then we can discuss after we've got the motion. Mr. Wilson moves. A second from Daniel Wiggs. Do you want to discuss those bids? Does anybody have questions or strong feelings they'd like to share here? Mr. Wilson?
Thank you for putting this together. I would agree with you about Excel Mechanical. What I see that's remiss in the A&R mechanical contractors is it doesn't specify what kind of feed system you're getting. So if I read their bid, it would be a something they designed on their own, knowing full well that most of these systems are package deals anyway on a skid and you connect them. But that would be my comment why A&R mechanical should have at least specified what. Did we ask them to specify what equipment?
We did spec the system for
Oh, you
them.
spec'd
We
the
sized it
system.
for them and asked
Okay.
them to basically give a comparative bid. So
Okay, so they are, okay.
It-
So
it should
it's
be
just
alike-
name one, it's the
yeah.
BFS boiler, condensate boiler system. Okay,
I don't know if it's going to be the same brand, but it will be comparative.
okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Daniel?
Does Excel Mechanical provide a warranty of any kind?
They should. They've applied it for the boiler burners. I can verify the warranty period just to be certain. So I'll have an update at the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no other questions here, all in favor of approving Excel Mechanical boiler bid, burner bid? Okay, aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. And that's one off the list for, I think we should still include it and say that this is where we're going with the, on that list, yeah.
And if it benefits anyone, I can wait until the final board meeting if you want me before moving forward with the current bid.
I don't think you need to wait, no. I
Good.
want to lock in what you have and
Perfect. Thank you.
we are, again, saying that this is what we're doing. We're not accepting questions at this time. Stephanie?
Yeah, I think in general, we just need to buy everything as quickly as we humanly can because like prices are going to go up. So why wait?
Jeff?
Thank you. Just a clarification. I agree, consent. However, in the consent, you're going to say, I assume you would, which one we selected, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll be part of the packet is that we approved the
Okay,
bid.
thank you.
All right, moving on, discussion of the Bennett Building Teller Station renovation.
So this is more of an open discussion. I can I can go out and get 3 bids from generals to renovate the teller station, or else I can send it out for bid, an official bid. This will be a higher dollar figure. It's more or less what we're trying to do is just to get an estimate. We want a bid to potentially move forward with the work, but we also are unsure of what the cost is going to be. So it's more or less going to be, if the bid comes in at reasonable, we want to move forward with it because it's cost effective. I'm more or less asking, can I go that route versus having to send this out for a full bid? The dollar figure will probably be over 100,000. This teller station, if anybody's not familiar, we can review it whenever we do the walkthrough. It's basically a separate building that is attached to the parking deck of the Bennett Plaza. We have electrical in there for the facility. We have a couple sump pumps, so it's something that has to stay and is permanent. But the walls, they're just gutted. It's block walls. We can refinish it and move an office in there. Is the thought. It's just an expansion of what we already have at the building. It's just sitting currently. We have a few internal ideas on what we would like to do, but at this time, we also don't want to spend $500,000 on it if it's not cost effective over so many years. So I can either send it out for official bid like we did for some of this stuff, or I can just go get 3 generals and see what they come back at, because there's no for sure thing that we're going to move forward with it.
Daniel, did you have a question?
What are your ideas for use of that space?
There is some areas in Bennett that that sit idle for periods of time. That's my 2 cents. Some other suggestions have been that there is some other county entities that are struggling right now. It's small office settings. If they just need a couple offices and we can afford it, it'd benefit them. So there's a couple entities with grants and such that are going on. There's some hysteria to some extent, but there's just concern on what the long-term cost is for staying at some facilities. So we could potentially help one or shuffle things around and just try to make space for others.
I don't know if it's just me. I'm like looking at a map right now of I'm like, I can't picture what you're talking about as far as the facilities. It's the
So if you go straight, there's East Water there, and I'm drawing a blank on the road between Water and the courthouse. But if you take that side street between the sheriff's office and Bennett, there is the exit for the parking area right there on the corner, which would be the the northeast corner of the parking deck. It's actually covered by the parking deck. Would be the facility.
okay. So like right in here of the parking deck underneath. Okay.
Striped section is.
Right.
It's
Got
underneath
it. Okay. Ellie?
So it would still maintain like you said sump pump but then in addition to that, there would be room for like how many offices? I guess.
The idea is kind of just finding. So one of them is storage for the courthouse that they just flat out don't have any, and they're running out. So this is a temporary solution. Another one I'd rather not say for an internal one because we haven't had those open talks yet, and I don't want to shock somebody. But one of them would be just shuffle around people at Bennett so we make space in the Bennett building to make office room for idle areas. They're useful, but they're idle to some extent. The other one is some people have brought to our attention different agencies, like I said, that are paying rent elsewhere that we may be able to bring them in. So it's a 2-story, the lower level. It has sump pumps and could be storage. It's got stairs. Then that upper level, it actually used to have a bathroom and everything. So we can make a small office. It could probably house, I mean, if you have an open seating, you could probably get more depending on what code is, but you could probably have 5, 6 staff members out there.
Jeff?
Thank you. I don't recommend going out for a bid. I think it appears that the organization is still at the conceptual thought process. And it may be just spinning the wheels of a vendor or a general contractor because they have to try to interpret what your thought process is. It seems like you're looking for 3 different options, maybe.
Correct. What we would do is we would just furnish air-conditioned space and basically 4 walls. We would finish the 4 walls, make sure the bathroom's functional, redo the sump pump system because we have to at some point. And new flooring and then secure it. So if they wanted to add more walls, it'd be on them and their cost. It's not going to be us. We're just furnishing a shell of the building, and then whatever, we could use it as storage, like I said, and wouldn't have to touch anything. Or if we housed people there, they could make adjustments.
This go back to my thought. I think I'm capturing what you're saying. I just would wonder if we'd be better served to kind of write down a couple options and then maybe go for an RFI rather than an RFQ. And then you can get different information and different perspectives. And then that would help you in maybe articulating what you want to be bidded on. And then you can go from an RFI to an RFQ. What are your thoughts about that?
That makes sense to me. I mean, just because it is so vague right now. If that is in line with what you were,
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
I guess more or less what the reason I brought this up is because I don't want to shock somebody whenever we go out for 3 bids and it comes out at 350,000. So I don't want to just throw it on you at the last second. Part of it is because I want to include you and just get your justification on cost. Because if it's going to cost $750,000, it's not cost effective for us. So it's more or less, I would like to go out to 3 generals. We redo the HVAC system, do the 4 walls, flooring, bathroom, and that's it. We reuse it as, we could right now plan on using it as storage, but if more people need to move in, we'd have a space available for them.
Stephanie?
So let me be clear. Like what you're thinking is instead of like doing it as a whole project, that like you would have like somebody do the flooring, somebody do the. Is that what you're thinking? Like you fix the shell. Okay, I see what you're saying.
And that might help us all get a clearer picture of like what we could use it for, what's financially feasible for us, whether it would benefit us more as storage or a potential income source as a rental, like that sort of thing. So yeah, I can see where you're going with that. Stephanie?
And so would you just then like quote out like each piece is what you're thinking?
Yeah, it's either that or I just go to a general and let them manage it. But I wouldn't have to run through. I wouldn't have to worry about A&Es and stuff like that, which they would benefit hugely if we had a specific design. But since we don't have a specific design, and we're just more or less going out for fishing for cost to see what it's if it's cost effective for us. I'd just rather get 3 bids. And if it comes in at $750,000, we know in the future we got a budgetary item and we can plan for it down the road.
All right. I don't think there's any action that we need to take here, but I think, if you are clear with what it seems like we've talked through it and we're all in agreement that you're good to check pricing, but without sorry. There you go. Thank you. Moving on, we have an update on ITB 2025-004 Juvenile Detention Center lockable doors.
I just wanted to put it in there to show that it's out for bid. We've already had a couple companies reach out for specs. They're actually more or less the companies that push them to potential bidders. So things are going good. It's still active, and we got a little bit before it closes. So.
All right, thank you. Any questions there? All right, moving forward, we are on to other business. Auditor Danos, if you'd like to address the board, now would be the time. Let's turn the microphone on. Thanks.
It seems taller than before. I do have, I brought a drive so that we could visualize what I'm referring to. You'll let it, oh, there we go. hand-eye coordination. It was recently proposed that the auditor forfeit his space on the 4th floor so that the sheriff could bring 2 employees from EMA on the same floor. My space was given much thought and work with measurements. Our department had deliberate space designed for us by the architect. The EMA has 2 employees, and the space that we're being proposed to swap with, being offered, is on the 2nd floor with 2 finished offices and a large 2,360 square foot unfinished space. It seems to me that the pros of doing this are quite slight, and the cons are enormous. I'd just like you to see what that looks like before I entertain questions and some give and take. Here are just some pictures. I mean, when I say this is where we'd be entering, this is nice. I think I can, yeah, that's good. This is where we'd be entering from the north elevator. And then this is a view from the entrance to the space. You can see it's wide open. You've got 2 load-bearing pillars, I guess. On the right is one of the finished offices, one of the 2 finished offices. One of the reasons we took these photos was to see where the data ports and the power was, just to see how feasible it would be if we were to put in partitions, which we initially envisioned as being floor to ceiling. I don't think that's even offered to me. In the Finance Committee earlier today, the Director of Administration mentioned cubicles, and I know what she's referring to because I saw them. They were on the 1st floor, and I think that they're being passed on even by the county clerk. My objection to being placed into the space is that the auditor's office is accustomed to separate offices so that sensitive things can be stated without everyone hearing. That sometimes pertains to PII, could pertain to financial data, but a lot of times it could simply be that one auditor has to speak to a specific department head, and that engages you on the phone. If we're doing a Munis training or doing a webinar, even if you wear earbuds, you still have to speak. So this doesn't lend itself, I think, auditor work. Here are the 2 sole offices. Like I said, it would be a great boon to the sheriff compared to now to bring EMA from 1.5 miles away to the same building, and he would have 2 finished offices for those 2 employees. Why he would have 6, I think he'd be scrambling to even find uses for them. So I don't want to speak for another department, but as far as I can tell, the only advantage to the sheriff is to consolidate the floor and not for the director to visit EMA 2 floors below. Okay, yeah, wide open space, like I showed you. I mean, yeah. Okay, I'll go back to the plans. Those are really good. The plans tell the story. So this was for 2 years, this was the plan. I need to rotate it. I think I over-rotated it. No, this is good. You can see where, is my cursor? Yeah. It says storage there. You can see that I wrote storage in. These small shapes are real items. On the left here are my supply cabinets. These are heavy storage shelves for old invoices, and these are light storage. So we measured these to come up with the minimum but adequate storage space so that we would then be able to have both a conference room and the separate kitchenette. The reason for the separate kitchenette, and this is something Dana insisted on, perhaps the sheriff, was so that our conversation, we would never be overhearing anything that law enforcement was discussing. So that there's a story there, and now the floor. So the second floor had some tentative plans to put IT there, as you can see here, because even as late as August, if you look at the lower right, you see this common work area. You hear this is the director's office, the chief deputy's office. This is all for IT, and because of the uncertainty about what we would do with the fifth floor and the opportunity for admin and IT to move to the fifth floor, that opened up this space. So they decided not to invest in any construction there. And so this is what it looks like now. It's highlighted in yellow. Sorry, I'm not used to this mouse. I gotta click it exactly right. Open, there we go. It didn't, I don't think it's a damaged file. Oh, there we go. So yeah, you see here are those two finished offices, and then you've got the bullpen. Okay, so I think the original idea was fine. Only two offices were finished for the sake of EMA. The additional space is there for future use, including possibly the build out of the EOC, the Emergency Operating Command. Even if that's inactive or discontinued, nevertheless, that extra space doesn't hurt them because they're not using unfinished space. But again, like I said, it wouldn't be adequate to the auditor's needs. And likewise, the auditor's office is just along west side of the fourth floor that would go mostly begging. So that concludes my description. The sheriff is supposed to move in late April, including the EMA. And so I talked to you today because if we can issue clarity, and I can't convince the sheriff to renounce this gift, but I think it's not set in stone. It was a suggestion by admin, but I wasn't consulted. And I, of course, object. I did talk with my employees, and they're glad I'm here today to let you know how their working conditions are affected by this last minute proposal.
Did anybody have questions, comments on that? Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, George.
You're welcome. Thanks.
As far as roles and responsibilities, decision-making process, where does that lie?
For the building space?
Yeah, for allocation space, offices. I'm wondering, is that within the purview of facilities committee?
No. I think that's all executive admin, I believe, right?
It's the county executive
Okay.
that is the decision maker?
I believe this decision, as well as all decisions about who was going to which floor, there's been input gathered along the way, but I believe that they've always ultimately come down to the county executive's office and administration. While I have this, I'm just going to, George, I appreciate you sticking up for your employees, and they do deserve to have space. And they deserve to not be on the same floor as law enforcement, because the type of people that come angry to your office are different than the kind of people that come angry to the law enforcement office. And I know that was part of the decision making for administration, was that they were concerned that, like, the sheriff's office, little window, bulletproof glass. The treasurer's office on the second floor has its own thing, and George's office, the auditor's office, would be moving on the same floor as treasurer. But if the auditor's office remained on the fourth floor, they just had regular glass. They didn't have anything bulletproof. They didn't have anything. So if somebody's brought in for questioning or fingerprinting or whatever, like, they're not booked there. Nobody that's there is in custody, but they're still not happy to be there. Or maybe they're coming to talk to that person who arrested their kid or whatever. There's a reason there's bulletproof glass up there. And so the thought was to keep the law enforcement on one floor and the more financials down on another floor. Administration, when this was brought to my attention today, administration assured that there will be proper cubicles and privatized space as best you can do with cubicles. It's not ideal, and I appreciate you sticking up for your, but unfortunately, the decision's not to be made in this room. I don't think. I think it's already been made, and I think that the moving trucks are already scheduled for when they're scheduled.
I'm trying to figure out, I don't know if this is an older plan, but where the treasurer, oh, I see treasurer lobby now. I just spotted it as soon as I said I can't find it. As someone who does currently work in an open plan office with lots of glass and windows, I can assure you it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. Do we think there will be, or is there a way to provide some sort of, I'm not sure, like if would the offices that are finished in this plan go to the auditor and the deputy auditor, and then other staff would be in the open area? We do have like solo rooms, or what they call it, at my office, which is just they're not even soundproof actually, but they're a place where you can go to take a phone call that's away from the shared office space area. And I don't know if in this layout there's a way to add a desk area or something that's a separate space where people could go to take a phone call if needed, handle personal business things where they're not in a shared open area.
What do you refer to as the relaxation or the lactation rooms on the, what is it, the third floor?
Wellness rooms.
Wellness rooms, I think. Which phones have stronger signal in the building, like T-Mobile or Verizon? Do we know anything about that?
I have AT&T and it works just fine. There will be Wi-Fi throughout the entire building though.
For Wi-Fi calls. My envisioning of it and my mind's ear is that the cubicles are not going, I mean, but it doesn't provide the kind of soundproofing that you would want in a space like that. Perhaps the decision hasn't been made. I say that because I know the history. I do think there's something that lacks legitimacy. When I wasn't consulted beforehand and was told by admin that the sheriff needs it, and when I spoke to the sheriff, he told me that it's not because he lobbied for this. The idea originated with admin. I think a lot of investment, a lot of money has gone into this building. About $3 million per floor. And my wing on the fourth floor is 20% of one of those floors. And it's got very much dedicated space with dedicated storage area and walls that allow for the quiet that we're accustomed to. I just think that's wasted. I think that's all washed away on a lark. So I'm still contesting this. In my mind, I think, how would we make do? I'm a practical man. If it were emergent that the sheriff need that space, I would, of course, accede to it. I'm not convinced that that's what's occurring here. So I do ask you to use your moral suasion, if you agree with me, or to come by my office. And when you take a look at the Brook, go to the Bennett Administrative Center to check this out in person to see what that's like. One more thing about safety. Nobody's indicated any concerns in my office. One thing we were worried about was our clients, but our clients are internal and they'd badge in and use the north elevator and could approach us without going through the lobby. They wouldn't. So the question is whether we'd feel comfortable with people being in the lobby. I think we will. I think with proper signage, we'll get people used to the idea that the small window's for the sheriff and the large window's for the auditor. And you want to go to the small window. So we've thought about that. I didn't think that was ideal either. But the forfeiture of 3,000 square feet to this bullpen is a bit much. I just don't see it conveying the needs of the Office of the County Auditor into the future. And I don't see that staying put entails any real sacrifice on the part of the sheriff, and I won't ask him to.
Okay, well, I'll echo that again. We don't get consulted as the facilities committee on any of this placement. This is all completely different than the original plans. Like, it was never really brought before us. It's been more department heads, elected officials, and admin who are handling that. So I don't think there's really much that we as facilities can do. If anybody feels that you want to reach out to admin and express your displeasure, I would encourage you to do so. But beyond that, I don't know what we as facilities can do. But thank you. And then, again, I also echo the appreciation for you speaking up for your staff. Ellie, did you have something?
Just to reiterate, this is why I requested the tour of the building, because it really will help to, we haven't seen it since it was like just construction just started, unless I missed one, but yeah.
Stephanie.
Haven't just in the last like 5 years gone through a major building expansion and shuffling the deck in my building at work. Yeah, I think we were moving around who was where up until like the last minute. And yeah, the only people who decided that were the two people in charge of the facility project.
I actually, in my building, we've been in there. I've been with the company 7 months. We've been in the building about 6 months, and they're still talking about moving people around within our open office area. We're on the second floor of Yahoo at the research park, and it's a big, just modern open space. It's still a work in progress.
Yes, in the both buildings I've ever been in on campus, just every 7 months, 5 offices get moved, and you just get told you're moving, and you just pack up and you move, right? Because they're constantly trying to figure out how to put all of the pieces together, and needs change. And I think the big thing for us is obviously right is when we originally designed this, there wasn't the plan that EMA was going to move.
No.
And now it is, or well,
Eric?
we're hoping.
I think that one's set in stone for sure.
Yeah, and
and I do want to stress part of the fallout from this was the public defender not moving over.
Right.
So that just was a chain of events. I think, not to speak for anyone, I think the large portion of why second floor made sense was just because the treasurer was there. But that's all I'd like to share. So,
Ellie, and then we'll wrap up if there's nothing else.
Just wondering in general how it will work for the various offices once, because once you're in place, sometimes you realize, okay, this works, this doesn't work. So how much, so if a department head wants to make changes, request cubicles, just all of those things, I assume there's a process in place to work with your team on all of that.
we've kind of already started. Part of that is that we're not encompassing anything further into the project. The project's to completion. We just can't continue that. Part of it will be just we're actually asking even the sheriff, for example. They asked for dimmable lights and data and stuff. We're asking for them to cover those charges. Changes are going to happen. It's part of growing pains to a new space. There's going to be unforeseens that we just could not plan for. So yeah, we will grow into the space, and we do have plans for that. But for more or less, we're hoping department wise they can take it on themselves essentially.
All right. Can you turn the mic back on? Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't know I did that. With which fund are we drawing the collective furniture fund for the individual departments? My impression was it was CARF, but I know that I think ARPA funds can be utilized for that purpose. I can't think of another fund that would be drawing from.
I don't know. I thought we had already purchased everything. I don't know. No, we're not.
I was under the impression we did too, but you're right. That's a question that I can ask. I have not been part of those discussions for furniture.
It wouldn't be furniture in my case. It would be something in lieu of interior walls, like tall, stacked, rather than cubicle style.
The partition walls is what you're referring.
Yeah.
Stephanie?
We definitely had a pool of money to facilitate the move-in. I mean, we're just not going to move junk over there and all of that kind of stuff. So furniture and that kind of thing. I'll just be perfectly honest. I don't remember if it landed on the CARF side of the ledger or the ARPA side of the ledger. It was one of the two. I know it went back and forth probably 75 times. Where it landed, I don't just frankly don't remember, but that's an easy thing to find out. You could see what all ARPA projects are,
Yeah,
every
it's
single agenda.
been a while, so we'll have to
Yeah.
check back. But-
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Okay, moving forward, I have no presiding officers report. Our next meeting will be May 6th at 6:30 PM. Items to be placed on the consent agenda are items 6B and 6G. Item 6F will move forward to the full county board agenda. And we are adjourned at 7:34. Thank you.